the palace where he would not only be blessed but be in a position to save nations. Joseph went through so much, but each challenge he faced was not a setback, it was a setup for his promotion. Sometimes what we see as setbacks are just God's way of setting us up for a greater blessing. It's easy to become discouraged when things are tough, when it seems like nothing is going your way, but remember, God is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating things in your favor. What you're facing is not the end, it's just the beginning of something greater. And look at Daniel, thrown into the lion's den for standing firm in his faith. He had no idea what was ahead, but he trusted in the God he served. Before he even reached the den, God had already prepared a miracle. The lions, known for their fierce hunger, became harmless. God's protection over Daniel was so powerful that even the fiercest of enemies could not touch him. What you may see as a threat, God sees as an opportunity to show his power. When you trust him, he will not let you fall. He will silence the mouths of your enemies, and he will lift you up in front of everyone who doubted you. Even when things seem impossible, God is still in control. The mountains in your life, the struggles, the uncertainties, they are not too big for him. He created those mountains and he has the power to move them. When you walk through the valleys of life, you may feel alone or abandoned, but God is with you every step of the way. He's already made a way even when you can't see it. Your current situation is just a part of your journey, not the destination. What you're going through right now is shaping you, preparing you for something greater that is ahead. God's plans for you are not just good, they are great. His purpose for your life will not be thwarted by anything. What looks like a defeat is often the very thing that sets you up for victory. The challenges you face are not there to break you, but to make you stronger. You have a destiny that no setback can stop. The enemy might try to discourage you, to tell you that it's over, but God says it's not over until he says it's over. The enemy may plan your downfall, but God has already declared your victory. Your future is secure in God. His plans for you are not based on your current situation, but on his eternal purpose for your life. Trust that he has already gone before you and that he is with you in the midst of your struggle. When you feel alone, he's still with you. When you feel like giving up, he's the one who gives you strength to keep going. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to know the outcome, because God does. He has already laid out the path for you, and he will guide you every step of the way. Remember, faith is not about seeing the solution, it's about trusting the one who knows the solution. When you trust in God, you are trusting in a God who has never failed, a God who has never lost a battle. You are trusting in a God who has already won the victory for you. No matter how impossible your situation seems, trust that he has already made a way. God's promises are sure. What he says he will do. His word is faithful, and it will never return to him void. What he has promised you will come to pass. Even if you don't see it yet, even if it feels like you are in a season of waiting, trust that God is working. His timing is perfect and he will not fail you. So today, don't be discouraged. Don't let fear or doubt control you. Rise up in faith, knowing that God has already made a way. The obstacles you are facing are not there to stop you. They are there to show you just how big and powerful your God is. Walk in the confidence that he is with you, that he is for you, and that he has already declared victory over your life. Your story is far from over. God is just getting started. Your best days are still ahead of you. The battles you are facing today are just the stepping stones to the greater victories he has prepared for you. Keep walking in faith, keep trusting him, and watch as he transforms your situation. What seemed impossible is already being made possible. You may not see it yet, but God is working it out for your good. Keep going, because the victory is already yours. And just like the Israelites, when you feel trapped, when you feel like there's no way out, know that God is already making a way. He's already preparing a miracle for you, and what seems like an impossible situation is just the place where God's glory will be revealed. You don't have to worry about how it will all work out. You just need to trust that God has already made the way, even when you can't see it. Your victory is coming. Keep believing, keep trusting, and watch God work wonders in your life. Every battle you face, every challenge, every setback is just a part of the process that will bring you to your purpose. What the enemy meant for harm, God will use for good. He is turning every situation around for your favor. The best is yet to come, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. God is always ahead of you, working behind the scenes, preparing a way where there seems to be none. Your victory is already secured in Him. Trust in His plan and keep walking by faith that God had made to them. While the other spies allowed fear to dictate their thoughts and actions, Joshua and Caleb trusted in God's word and believed that He would help them overcome every obstacle. They knew that no matter how big the giants seemed, they were not bigger than their God. They were not focused on the size of the challenge, but on the size of their God. And because of their faith, they were the only two from their generation to enter the promised land. Sometimes, like those spies, we can focus so much on the obstacles in front of us that we forget the promises that God has already made. We get overwhelmed by the giants in our lives and forget that God has already declared our victory. When we choose to focus on God's promises, faith rises within us and fear loses its grip. We begin to see the situation differently, knowing that with God nothing is impossible. The giants in your life are not a surprise to God, and neither are the obstacles you're facing today. Remember the story of David and Goliath. David was just a young shepherd boy, and Goliath was a giant, a seasoned warrior who had struck fear into the hearts of the Israelites. But when David faced him, he didn't focus on Goliath's size or strength. He focused on his God. He knew that with God's help, the battle was already won. David had the faith to believe that God would deliver him from the giant, and he trusted in God's power over the problem. When David faced the giant, he wasn't relying on his own strength. He was relying on the power of God, and that faith in God's ability gave him the victory. In your life, you may face giants, challenges that seem too big to overcome, situations that seem too impossible to fix. But just like David, when you put your trust in God, He will give you the victory. The victory may not come in the way you expect, but it will come because God is always faithful to fulfill His promises. We often want to rush through the process to get to the end where we can see the victory, but God works in the waiting. The waiting is not a wasted time, it's a time for God to prepare you for what's ahead. Think about the process of a seed growing into a tree. It doesn't happen overnight. There are seasons of growth, of stretching, of sometimes being buried under the ground, where no one can see it, but the seed is growing and developing, preparing for its time to rise up and bear fruit. So are you. In the seasons of waiting, God is doing something deep within you. He's preparing you for the next season, for the victory that is coming. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. His ways are higher than our ways, and He knows the right time for everything. Sometimes we want things to happen quickly, but God is working in the background, orchestrating everything in our favor, aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities in His perfect timing. Trust the process, even if it feels like nothing is happening. Trust that God is working it out for you. The answer is already on the way. Think about the story of Abraham and Sarah. God had promised them a child, but for many years they had no children. They were well past the age of having children, and it seemed impossible. But God had a plan. His promise to them was not forgotten, even though they had to wait many years to see it come to pass. Their waiting was part of God's perfect plan. When God finally gave them their son Isaac, it was a fulfillment of His promise, and through Isaac God fulfilled His covenant with Abraham. Sometimes we have to wait a long time, but God is faithful to fulfill His promises, no matter how long it takes. So when you face seasons of waiting or delay, know that God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is working behind the scenes, and He is getting everything ready for the moment when He will reveal His promises in your life. Your breakthrough is coming, and it will be worth the wait. In the meantime, trust Him. Trust that He knows what He's doing. Trust that He is already working everything together for your good. You don't have to have it all figured out, because God has already figured it out for you. Your job is to keep trusting, keep believing, and keep moving forward in faith. knowing that what God has promised He will do. You may be in a place of waiting, but know that you are not waiting in vain. Your breakthrough is on the way, and God is already preparing the way for you. Trust in His timing and trust in His faithfulness. He has never failed, and He will not fail you now. Keep believing, keep standing in faith, and watch as God brings His promises to pass in your life. The giants may be big, but our God is bigger. Keep your faith in Him and watch as He brings victory where there once was defeat. Sometimes life can feel like a series of setbacks that pull us further from our dreams. We might look at our circumstances and wonder how they could possibly align with God's plan for us. But Joseph's story reminds us that what seems like a setback can actually be a divine setup for what God has in store. Every painful moment, every betrayal, every delay was not there to defeat Joseph. It was there to position him for greatness. If he had allowed bitterness to take hold or given up in despair, he would have never experienced the fulfillment of God's promises. The very things that seemed to work against him were actually working for him, setting the stage for his promotion. This truth applies to your life as well. The trials and challenges you face today are not meant to destroy you. They are setting you up for a greater breakthrough. What seems like a delay is not a denial of God's promises. He is using it all to prepare you for something bigger, something better than you can imagine. The struggles you are going through are part of the process, and in the end they will position you to step into your purpose. The enemy wants you to believe that your struggles are proof that God has abandoned you. He wants you to think that you've gone too far, that things will never change. But the truth is, God has not left you. He is right there with you in the midst of the storm, working everything together for your good. The challenges you face are not the end of your story. They are just a chapter in the book that God is writing for your life. And the best part is that God knows the ending, and He has already declared it to be good. Joseph's journey shows us that even when things don't make sense, God is still in control. He sees the bigger picture, and what seems like a detour or a delay is actually part of the path He has designed for you. Your pit is not your final destination. The season you're in right now may feel difficult, but it is not the end of your story. God is using every moment to refine you, to grow your faith, and to prepare you for the next step in your destiny. When we look at Joseph, it's clear that he didn't let fear or doubt control his actions. Even when it seemed like everything was falling apart, he kept trusting God. He didn't allow his circumstances to define him. Instead, he trusted in God's promises, and in the right moment, God lifted him from the pit to the palace. This is a reminder for us: when we face trials, we must remember that God is working behind the scenes. What looks like a delay is actually divine preparation. When you face setbacks, remember that God is positioning you for something greater. The very thing that you think is holding you back is actually setting you up for a breakthrough. The enemy wants to convince you that you're stuck, that things will never change. That don't believe the lie. Your struggles are not a sign that God has abandoned you. They are a sign that God is at work in your life. He is preparing you for what's next. He is using every challenge, every hardship to shape you into the person He created you to be. Don't give up when things get tough. Don't let fear cause you to retreat. Instead, choose to trust God in the midst of the storm. Choose faith over fear. Just like Joseph, when you stay faithful, even in the hardest seasons, you will see God's promises come to pass. You will step into the destiny He has for you, and just like Joseph, when the time is right, you will experience the elevation that only God can bring. Your story is not over yet. What you're going through today is not the end of your journey. It's just the beginning of the next chapter. God has already made a way for you. You may not see it yet, but it is there. And when the time is right, He will bring you through every trial and into the fullness of His promises for your life. So hold on to faith. Keep moving forward, trusting that God is already working everything out for your good. The best is yet to come. But in her moment of desperation, she turned to the prophet Elisha. God used Elisha to instruct her to gather empty vessels, and from her little jar of oil, God performed a miracle, multiplying the oil until all her vessels were full. What seemed like an impossible situation with no way out became the setting for one of the most remarkable miracles of provision. God didn't just deliver her from her immediate need. He used that moment to show his power and provision in an extraordinary way. The widow's story reminds us that even in the most hopeless circumstances, God is at work. No matter how dire things seem, God can make a way when there seems to be no way. What looked like a dead end for her became the place where God's miraculous power was revealed. This is how God works. What you see as a problem, he sees as an opportunity to reveal his glory. What you feel as a setback is just the beginning of a breakthrough. Just like the widow, just like Lazarus, just like Joseph, you are not where you are by accident. God is setting the stage for your miracle, your testimony, and his glory. It's easy to look at the challenges in front of you and feel overwhelmed. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't seem to be moving in the direction you hope. But you need to remember that God is not limited by your circumstances. He has a plan, and it is good. He is using every moment, every challenge, every delay to prepare you for something greater. Your story is still being written, and the ending is already glorious. God is not finished with you yet. What you see as a dead end, he sees as a new beginning. What you think is a failure, he uses to build you for a future of great purpose. He is working everything together for your good, and the victory you are waiting for is already on the way. Keep holding on to your faith. Keep trusting in his timing. Even when things don't make sense, trust that God is at work behind the scenes. When things seem impossible, remember that nothing is too hard for God. He is the God who brings life out of death, provision out of emptiness, and healing out of brokenness. The storm you are facing is not your end. It is your preparation for something greater. Every challenge, every test, every trial is shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for what is coming next. So don't be afraid. Don't give up. Trust that God is with you. Trust that he is working on your behalf. And trust that the very thing that seems like your greatest struggle right now is the very thing that will lead you into your greatest breakthrough. God has already worked it out for you, and his plans for you are good. Stay focused on him. Stay faithful to the process. What the enemy intended for evil, God will turn for your good. You are being shaped for greatness, and your story is about to take a turn you never expected. Hold fast to the promises of God, because what you're facing today will soon become your testimony, and that testimony will bring glory to God and encourage others in their own struggles. Your story is still being written. Your best days are ahead of you, and the victory you're waiting for is already in motion. God fulfilled his promise to Abraham and Sarah, and they gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. What seemed impossible became a reality because God's timing is always perfect. Abraham and Sarah's story is a reminder that even when the waiting season seems long, God's plan is never delayed. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything according to his will. Sometimes we can feel like the waiting is unbearable. We might wonder why things aren't happening as quickly as we'd like. But the truth is, God is not just concerned with the destination. He's also focused on the process. The waiting season is where God refines us, builds our faith, and prepares us for what's ahead. He wants us to trust him not just for the end result, but for his provision and faithfulness every step of the way. It's in these seasons of waiting that God often reveals the most about his character. He teaches us patience, endurance, and the value of trusting his timing. Even when it seems like nothing is happening, God is still at work. When the waiting feels like a wilderness, remember that it is a place of preparation, a place where God is strengthening you, deepening your roots, and equipping you for what's to come. Abraham's story also teaches us that even when circumstances look impossible, God can still make a way. Specializes in doing the impossible. When the odds are stacked against us, when everything points to defeat, that's when God shows up and shows his power. The waiting is not wasted. It is a part of his plan, and he is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. So let us hold on to faith, Keep trusting in God's plan and believe that the best is yet to come. Your breakthrough is coming, and what God has in store for you is greater than anything you can imagine. Keep moving forward, because your testimony is already in motion. Stay encouraged, and remember, God's timing is always worth the wait.